you're ready for that next level. You're ready to double, triple, quadruple your business. It's all going to start up here in between your ears. It's all perspective, mindset, skill set matters, but not if you can't back it up with the proper perspective. And I can't think of anybody better than Rena, because Rena got started, didn't have some big team that she brought over. She wasn't an influencer, a coach. She was just a very hungry, dedicated, hardworking person, hardworking entrepreneur that wanted more, but she wasn't like coming in guns blazing and, bringing in all these people immediately. She built over time, step by step, and developing leaders and building a business the right way that has grown every year, created stability and longevity. And to me, that's what it's all about. And Rena, I don't know if you were like this, but like every time I'd have a conversation with someone, it was almost always, and especially in the early days, it was always about my business. Yeah. And of course, in my mind, I'm like sharing something amazing, but in their mind, commission breath. Like, this guy is pushy, he's desperate, he seems needy. Wasn't very effective. Then I said, years ago, let's start making friends. I'm just gonna start making friends, connecting with people that are like me. And, who knows what that could lead to. And it's obviously led to a lot of amazing relationships, and even a lot of the people that aren't in my business, but we just have a great relationship, a great friendship. But typically people partner with people that they know, like, and trust. And it takes a little while to build trust with someone you don't know. So maybe, Rena, you could start with that, and then we can kind of get into some of the goods.
Yeah, well, listen, I think back to when we met. And just a little bit of a backstory. When I met John in April of 2016, I was actually pregnant with my third, and I was in a crossroads in my life, right? I was 1 foot out the network marketing door, and that's no joke. Like, I was just really contemplating whether this business was for me or not anymore. I was burnt out. I was exhausted, and quite frankly, I didn't think I had it in me, because I kept failing. So if you're listening to this and you're not where you want to be, we really want to inspire you today to keep going, because sometimes you're just one step away from the next chapter in your life. And that's what happened when I met John. And here's the thing. And I remember I had to ask you, hey, John, are you a coach? Do you have a business? Like, it wasn't until like 6 weeks, I kept asking John questions. So here's like tip number 1, just kind of going to throw it in there, is have a giver mentality, because he was just giving of his time. I was saying, how do you do videos? Facebook Lives had maybe just come out, or they were brand new. And he kept giving me tips and sharing his and Nadya's videos and things like that. And he was building a connection with me without vomiting his business, to the point that I had to say, hey, listen, like, are you in a business? And then, one thing led to another, and here we are 6 years later. Yeah.
Which is really that abundance mindset, first of all. Second of all, it's playing the long game. Yeah. And I know, look, some of you are like, man, I need a team. I need momentum. I need growth. I need the breakthrough you guys are talking about. And maybe you don't have the ability or the patience to wait and play that long game. But I also was in a situation at that time where I had that luxury. I had multiple income streams. I had a business that was going, pretty well. I didn't need to talk to everybody I came across about my business and products. And by the way, I really don't think that should ever be the mindset anyhow, but I was prospecting, but I was also connecting and building those relationships. And I think it's a combination of the two. And when you meet someone and you immediately start prospecting them right when you met them, not someone that you've known for years and there's a history, but maybe you haven't spoken a while, but literally someone I just met, I'm sorry, I just think that comes across, especially if it's in the first couple messages, the first day. Like, I almost, even if that does happen, I almost pull back a little bit. Like, I had someone just the other day started following me. I said, hey, thanks for the follow. We started talking. She asked me about my business. I told her about it. She's like, oh, I'm going to look that up. And I was like, well, look, I'm not trying to prospect you. You just asked, she's like, oh, no, I didn't think that at all. And the reason I pull back, because I don't want people to think like, oh, there we go. He's already going straight for the jugular. Now, that might work if you talk to enough people, but I would rather have a little bit of a rapport, a little bit of a connection. And it is funny that you had to ask me. Like, that really shows the attraction marketing and the relationship building, and really take away all that, just being a good human and actually having authentic, real conversations, trying to help people and not trying to sell people.
Exactly. And it's funny that you say that because I'm a very direct person and I believe in being direct with your intentions. But if I just meet somebody, I'm not going to be pitching them a business. Like to me, that just feels like, because here's the thing, if somebody that didn't know me, I should say when people that don't know me, because it happens every week and they message me their new opportunity, it actually repels me because I'm like, I don't know you. Like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know you. Like, I'd love to get to know you, but we're not there yet.
It is a lot like dating. Our business is a lot like that. And it's tough again, because, people are like, well, what do I do? Because I don't have people asking me, because it's not a contradiction. What we're saying is talk to people about your business and products that already know you exist. Right. But if you make a new friend today, I think it's highly unlikely you're going to also recruit them tomorrow. Right. It's too soon, too fast. Now, if they ask you about it again, it just depends. Maybe you just hit it off and it's a total red apple, or they were checking out your stuff and they've been following for a while. That's different. But especially if you are the one reaching out to them, you're initiating the conversation, you're reaching out, you're sending that friend request, that's a different deal altogether. But either way, you're gonna have to be okay with messing up some of these conversations. You're gonna have to be okay with sometimes, because this is the one thing you don't want to do. You don't want to also be in the friend zone forever. And it's like, I've been friends with this person for 3 years. I wonder if I should mention my business. No, you don't want to do that either, obviously. But I think it's really important for us to always be connecting with new people every day, meeting new people all the time, but then also in the inboxes and having those one-on-one conversations with people that we already have relationships with, and not being afraid to get rejected, get turned down, to plant the seed. Because even if someone says no, it's just no, not yet. No, not now, but maybe later. But as long as you get that conversation going, it's not a bad thing, especially if they actually have a relationship with you. I think that's so important, is to always be building and nurturing relationships. So let's talk about, just a lot of the mindset shifts that you made, Rena, in your business that helped you with those breakthroughs. And you have a lot of coaching clients. You have a lot of leaders on your team. Like, what are some of those X factors, if you will, that help people, break through and go from zero to hero?
Well, that's a really good question. And I know exactly for me when the major shift happened. And I'll tell you in such a simple way, when my mindset went from me to them. From inward to outward, what's in it for me to what's in it for them. And the second, I talk about this all the time because I love to reflect on the overcome of my story. I've been in network marketing for 10 years and it's, the first 5 felt like torture. I sometimes think back and I'm like, I was either like under a trance or so naive, like, or so driven. I don't know, maybe a bunch of each, like, to keep going. My journey has been a really difficult one. It was not an easy one. And I still, overcome things all the time. It's just, I'm in a different place today. I'm in my mindset, and it really all shifted from what's in it for me, what about my rank, to what about them? How can I help them? How can my product help them? How can I add value to people? How can I just leave people better than I found them? And, I remember I went live like 700 times before somebody shared my live.
How cool is that you knew that, first of all? Like, that was number 700. Like, wow.
Yeah, it was insane. I was like, oh my gosh, like, people are seeing the value in what I have to say, but it took time to build the trust and the relationships. And so I would say the biggest shift you can make in your mindset, and there's so many nuances to this business, right? Like, John touched upon prospecting, and then there's, when do you build rapport? When do you not? Like, there's so many things, you guys, like, right. It's such a journey. It really is. But that was a big one for me, is, it wasn't about my rank and my title. It wasn't about me and my goals. It was me and it was about my team's goals. It was about my prospects' dreams. And when you shift that energy, people feel it. You become magnetic to them because they're like, wow, I'm not used to this. I'm used to feeling like I'm like, a piece of meat. Like, everybody just wants it, right? And so it's just a different energy, but people really appreciate it.
Yeah. You don't want to treat people like a number. Yes, it's a numbers game, but if everybody is treated as such, like, you're never going to build anything significant. No. If people are just like, oh, I'm just one of many. Like, I don't matter. I'm not important. I can't contribute because I'm not getting, I'm not on the leaderboards. I'm not a top person. And, listen, there's nothing wrong with recognizing your top people. You should.
Of
But
course.
if that's all you recognize, if your whole culture is around the 5%, the 20%, you're never going to build something significant, like I said. And on top of that, let's not forget about the customers, right? It's like, I love getting a customer, but I really love when the customer gets the results, when the customer's loving their product and they're loving the experience, the way something feels and the way that it tastes, and they start naturally referring it to other people. Sure, it's great to incentivize referrals. It's great to, help people with, referring out their link and stuff like that. But when people are naturally sharing and talking about the products, talking about the opportunity, talking about the mentorship, the community, et cetera, like that's what it's all about. And I love, I don't know if you remember this, you probably do, because you have a great memory for stuff like this too. Like, I remember we were talking one time and you were mentioning how, like, you almost, at one point in your business, it was like you had so many people coming in, but you're like, I almost want to, like, slow it down for a second, or, kind of get things, I want to wrangle things in, because, basically you want to make sure the people that are joining, because when you first started hitting like some serious momentum, you're like, I want to make sure these people are taken care of. And we're not bringing on people so quickly that, like, people are slipping through the cracks, which, by the way, that's going to happen at some point in your business, but you don't want to have it happen to a point of where it's detrimental and you have like an implosion in your team, because you have all these people that are coming in and they're just not getting support. So maybe you could talk about that too, like creating that culture where others are stepping up and you're making sure there's the support, but also without burning yourself out and having to do everything for the team.
I just said this recently, where it's not about bringing in the most amount of people, whether it's in network marketing or any business that you're running. It's, can you help people get results? And, there's been times where I didn't feel like it was the right fit for whatever reason. And I'm not just going to bring somebody into my world if I don't feel like I can help them. I really, truly believe that the biggest breakthrough that people can have in network marketing is to create a community, to create, like, your team has to know how incredibly important they are and how valuable they are. And one of the things that we've done on our team is we really believe in having a team mission and team values. And one of the reasons we don't have drama and we don't have, and believe me, like, after 10 years in network marketing, I've been through tons of really difficult things, and John knows as well, like, we've been through it together. But you get to the point where you're so clear on the mission and the values of the team that it really becomes this place where you're just attracting that energy into your team. And I know you've experienced that too, John, where, I mean, it's all about how you make people feel, how people feel in your presence. And it goes back to that mindset shift of leave people better than you found them. My number one objective when people are around me is to know that I care about them, and that, business is business and our relationship is our relationship. And it's important to me. Your life matters. Your family matters to me. Your goals matter to me. I don't care if you just want to be part of the team and you're producing anything. I've been on teams where I felt like I didn't matter, and I know that feeling, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
And so I promised myself, Rena, when you grow a team and you build, that everyone that comes into your life and presence is going to know they matter. And that's really important to me.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I think it's important to a lot of people, right? But sometimes we get so fixated, like you said, on your own goals, your own success, and you kind of start to lose that attention to the new guy getting started, or as a team gets really big, it's like things that didn't matter as much now matter. But really, if you just go back to basics and you go back to what mattered in the beginning to create the momentum, and I think having those authentic conversations and having the transparency and the availability, right? And also, what you did a really good job of is highlighting others. Like, how do you have that balance of, like, hey, I'm a leader, I'm here, painting the vision, leading by example. You're out there doing the dang thing. Like, you're being that leader, that boss, that top producer, but also you're making sure that you're helping others level up. You're helping others get that spotlight. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, because you've done a great job with developing leadership within your team.
To be a great leader, you need to recognize that there are talents around you that you don't possess. And, when I look at our team, there's people that are so talented in areas that I get to learn from them. And so one of my core beliefs is that in order to create an amazing environment is that you elevate other people and push them to the front. To me, it's about highlighting the growth in the people that stuck by you and have been with you. And I no longer need, require, or even want recognition. To be honest with you, I'm at this point where I just want to push every single and there was a time where I was driven by that. So I'm going to be very honest about that. Like when I was kind of growing and in those trenches, that era in my journey, and you're always in the trenches, by the way, it never stops. But recognition was important to me. Proving people wrong that doubted me was important to me. Like I had a lot of adversity on my journey. But I no longer am driven by that. You evolve, you change, right? And so the way to create the culture that you desire and that energy amongst your team is to push people to the front of the room and get to the back and let them shine and build that energy.
Well, and they actually, in some ways, can move people more than us as leaders, because we've been around a little while. People are like, well, of course, Rena's crushing it. Of course, John's doing well, making lots of money. I mean, these guys have been, but then they see someone that's like 6 months ahead of them. And they're like, oh, wow, like they're just like me. Their story might be a little more relatable because it's a little bit newer. People can see 6 months. They can't see 6 years or, 21 years, right? They can't see that far into the future. We forget how important it is, like you said, to highlight these up and coming success stories, these new success stories. Like that's literally the lifeblood of our business. We're still going to have, the people at the top of the leaderboards and all that stuff is good. You never want to stop recognizing those people because they do deserve it. But like you said, we don't need it. We don't need the recognition at this point. At this point, we want to get others at the top of those leaderboards. We want to get others that are up and coming. And their stories can be so inspiring. People are like, well, John, who do you listen to? Who are you learning from? I learned a lot from my team, my organization, also sideline, upline. Like different people have different strengths and different weaknesses. So if everybody can collaborate and create that, like you said, that community feeling where everybody feels like they can contribute and it's like a safe place, you're not going to have as many people give up, because they know they have a whole community that believes in them, not just their sponsor, this one person, but a whole community. So you've really created that. And how would someone start to create that? If they're kind of like, they don't really have much of a team, or it's kind of like they have a bunch of people, but no leaders yet. How would you start to build up that type of community and that culture like you have?
It all starts. And if you're, just think back to when John started, when I started 6 years ago, I was a team of one. And slowly, like John said, brick by brick, we grew and we added new people. And let's just say you have 5 people on your team. And you're like, oh, I have 5 people on my team. Yeah, that's incredible. You have 5 people on your team. 5 becomes 50 quicker than and 50 becomes 5,000. But you have to implement these things early. One of the things that I would do if I was starting all over again and I was to look at those few people on my team is I would identify the strengths and qualities of leadership. Leadership is not a rank or a title. Like you can have someone on your team right now that is not doing anything volume wise yet, but they show up. They are committed. They have an amazing energy. They're positive. Those are the attributes of somebody that you want to be connected to in your business. People that are really like high producing and low drama. Like that's
low maintenance.
Low maintenance.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right. That's really like when you have someone on your team like that, that's just like they're excited. Those are the people that you really want to push to the front even before they have results. So here's one action step you can do in your business. If you have a little team group or a chat or whatever you have, is have people on your team outside of you start sharing pieces of their story, start sharing a win that they had, start like notice the things in your teammates that you want more of, right? It's like parenting. We can get annoyed, or we can say, you know what, I noticed you did that. That's amazing. And your kid's going to want to do more of that, right? And so start to identify things you want to see more of, those behaviors, and look at your organization, whether you have 50 people or 500, and start to identify those personality traits, those qualities that exemplify leadership, and ask those people, say, hey, would you mind going live for a few minutes today and sharing that experience that you shared with me? I really think that would inspire the team, and I really want to highlight you. Can you do that? And a lot of people will feel nervous, which is great because they're growing. And I really believe that's something you can start doing today to create a better energy on your team.